I'm Mel,
And I'm Andrea.
and we've been asking ourselves, WTF? Where's the fun?
So, welcome to our podcast for heart-led business leaders, entrepreneurs, and CEOs ready for more. More impact, more wealth, more joy, and more magic, all while having even more fun than ever before.
As co-founders of FunX, we believe that life and business is way more fulfilling when you're following the fun.
So we're flipping the script on success, giving you permission to create from a whole new paradigm where you can have a lasting impact while nurturing your well-being and having a freaking blast along the way.
So join us each week for engaging solo episodes
and real conversations with experts who are embodying this new paradigm of leadership, spiritual wealth, business growth, and of course, fun.
If you're ready to reignite your spark, make bold moves, and lead from a whole new energy,
Let's jump in and have some fun.
We just recorded a podcast with Kim from the Door Gurus, and it was so good.
You're going to love Kim. Kim always brings so much energy to everything that she does. We talked all about her journey in creating her life by design. She's an entrepreneur, family business, and we talk about one of the things that meant so much to us this year in creating our brand, which is about how to manage expectations. So, and you're going to love it.
Hey, welcome to WTF. I'm Mel,
And I'm Andrea.
and we have a special powerhouse businesswoman with us today, Kim Hiebert.
Yeah. Okay, Kim, we love you and we're so grateful to have you on the show.
Yeah.
But I'm going to read your bio because one, I was like, I have so many questions. And two, you just told us you don't even know what it says. So I'm really excited to start off this way.
Yes.
So
What happens when you have too many assistants?
is a high school dropout, homeless foster kid turned serial entrepreneur. Co-founder and social worker, Kimberly Hiebert is a true believer that anything is possible. A generator in human design and all-around expander. She loves laughter, her family, and helping others find new limits. I love this, and we love you. And I have so many questions and to jump in all the things. But first, we just want to say welcome.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be. I am so excited. I was so excited when you whispered that you're launching a podcast. You ladies are great conversationalists and have really good conversation, but also just a lot of fun to hang with. And because we don't live so close, we don't have as many opportunities to hang out as I would like. So this to me is a real joy moment. So thank you for having me.
Same, and I feel
I
like
hope to do you proud.
And then not, we'll just delete this episode.
You just delete it. That's right. It's all like it's live.
and it's so fun because I feel like we haven't, Mel, I was just talking about this. We haven't known you for all that long, but I feel like our souls know each other. I feel like we're definitely on the same vibration, same air. So we actually have a lot of, I think me and you specifically have a lot of similarities. We're both generators. You came from the social worker background. I was in policing and had a social worker partner, like all the things there. You're in you're in business with your partner.
Yeah.
And we all just like genuinely like to have fun. Yeah. So where do we even start?
I don't even know.
I think for us, like when we were talking about like what's the intention for this, I think you're really great about creating life by design. And knowing a little bit about your background, it's fascinating how you've kind of come from where you were to where you are now, where you're going. For those listening, can you just kind of give them an idea as to what that journey has been for you?
Yeah, it's kind of interesting because as you live your life, and your life evolves from, one space and time to another, it's not that you forget about where you came from, but the conversation of your history or your past or your whatever, it becomes less and less, right? Like it's not that I don't talk about it, it's just I don't lead with it. And so every now and then, when it comes up about kind of like my childhood, the events there, and then developing the life that I've had from there forward, sometimes I forget. And it's a nice reminder. It's not like, it wasn't like an intentional, I grew up in this, so I'm gonna pursue something else completely different. It wasn't that connected of an experience. There's definitely some fundamental moments along the way. And I think that's where kind of creating that life by design has always been for me. Um, so just a little bit of context for your listeners is, I'm very old now, but when, I was born, I'm the oldest. I'm a twin. I'm the oldest of family of us. Oh, are you?
Yeah.
Sister or brother? Did we know this already?
Sister, yeah, we talked about
Okay.
because my sisters are twins.
Yeah.
I feel like, oh,
Wow. Yeah. I have a twin brother. And so we're the oldest. And then my mom was very young, 19 when we were born. She had three other children. So she calls us a litter. And, we started off very young. I'm not going to, give you a chronological, but I just say that because my mom was very young. She was not motherly at all. She called herself, she said she had the mothering instinct of a cat. And she just lick us off and away we went. Her only hope was that we would make it to 18. This is no word of a lie, that we would make it to 19. In BC, it was 19, and get on welfare. And that's really was the scope of I don't need, yeah. So we grew up for our younger years in very, you know, alcohol, violence, poverty, all that kind of like stuff. But then my mom really got really involved in addictions, and she brought home a monster. And he tried to kill me. I was in a coma. Like he literally tried, well, first he tried to sexually assault me, and then um when that got thwarted, he then tried to kill me. My siblings were there. My mom was there. I think this is the hard part of the story. I should have probably done a little bit of a trigger warning. The hard part of the story is when that event occurred, my mom was there and witnessed the whole thing. And I was removed from home, but my sister, who's 5 years younger than me, she was 8 at the time, um, she didn't get removed. So I was removed from my mom's care at the age of 13, and I've lived in foster care, group home, did whatever the hell I wanted from then on. And so what ended up happening, it's not that I was one of those kind of rebellious kids, but because you're living in group homes and foster homes, you have adults who are responsible for you, but you don't necessarily have a family that is nurturing you or that is guiding you through with certain values or expectations. So I just did whatever the hell I wanted. As long as as long as I was home by curfew, as long as I wasn't in trouble with the law, I was going to school, like those basics for kids. And so at 13, I just kind of, I mean, there's a whole lot to unpack with the trauma with the mama and all of that kind of stuff. But I'm just saying, like, so when I look back, I see somebody who's never really been, and I don't know about you ladies in your upbringing, but I know with my husband, for instance, he was brought up with his parents nurturing him into the values that they held and into the expectations that they had. And that caused a lot of friction, right? And so I never grew up in that. I've never had anybody, I've never felt any guilt like from a parent or nothing. And so I was always done whatever the fuck I wanted.
It's so funny that you say that because, like Annie said, is like she feels like she's connected to you and your story based on her upbringing and her career and all that. And I feel like I'm so connected to your husband, Darren, and his upbringing and like how he was nurtured and like he went into the trades. Like I just feel very Like,
and look, here's what happened this morning, real quick. So I want to keep real quick. We got a text from somebody in our circle. It was Stacey. So Stacey.
yeah.
This isn't vulgar.
She sent just out of the blue the nicest message. This was like 7 a.m. our time. I don't even know why she's up that early. And Andy just started crying.
It was just like this moment of sorrow. And it
He did like have that. And she doesn't understand.
So I totally understand. And I think that's the part where I think my superpowers is as I'm able to see leaders. Everyone sees the leaders as what they want to see as like the shining doing the thing, but I could see beneath that be like, wow, like I can actually see like the story and the essence and the strength and the courage and the journey behind it.
Yeah.
I always love talking to people like you because yes, I resonate, but I also love like the whole thing behind it. So
Yeah.
totally understand the nurturing piece. Kiko, that's great.
Yeah, no, so I think that, and that it's a double-edged sword. It's a, I don't understand when like, let's say my friends, um, have feelings of guilt about things their parents want them to do or not do. I think my kids maybe have some guilt sometimes because they think, oh, my mom wouldn't be pleased with this, or I should do what my mom, that kind of stuff. But I've never really like had that. So I just do whatever the fuck I want, but not in a like FU way, not like, I'm not. And so creating a life for design for me always has been about doing, because the one thing that makes me feel the absolute worst is when I'm suppressed in anything. And so I have to be fully expressed and that's what makes me feel connected and alive, right? If I'm like, oh my God, I wish I was doing that. Oh my God, I wish I was doing, oh my God, I want to do that. I can't believe I'm doing that. Oh my God, this is horrible. This is horrible. I will then work at getting out of what this horrible thing is, which is why I've changed jobs. I've had many businesses, because once those are done for me and they're no longer feeding that need for expression in that way, it's time to find the new limit. It's time to explore, expand. And so I think ultimately that has been what's allowed me to create a life of design. Now, that being said, it's not a linear journey, right? And in order to do that, sometimes you get kind of, you take those 2 steps backwards, or I would say sometimes you just like hit a fucking brick wall and you're flying hours and then have to kind of, so there's been those moments for sure. And then in terms of like, uh, I think the one thing that people find more fascinating, 2 things that people find fascinating about my whole history, let's say, is where I come from, the extreme abuse that I suffered, um, my mother's involvement in it, and then my relationship with my family over the years, because that I was able to manage and work through even till my mom just passed this summer. And oh, it's starting to cry. Um, I was her caregiver.
Yeah.
And so you see this like lit. And so people sometimes are more curious about that, about maintaining those relationships. And so that, and I think that's what people find interesting. It's not only, that I found financial success, I found relationship success, I found um, personal success. Is not that part. It's like, oh, you still have relationships with your family. Oh, you're still connected to your family. Right. And so, um, yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's beautiful. And I think that's honestly, like, I think relationships in itself, especially with family, are mastery level. Like,
Dude, I mean, you have a whole book on it. Oh, it's a teenage writing book, but yes. Yeah. Yeah, because they're very complex, right? It's very complex. Relationships are, especially, mothers, it's very complex, I think, as we grow. So anyway, I think that in itself, just the one thing, yeah, I love my mom. Don't get me wrong. She wasn't an asshole. But the one thing that she did always say to us is she always was a believer, right to the day she died, that you could have anything. And she would say, if there's something like, if you want money, go get it. You just got to figure out how to get it. It's out there. Like, she wasn't a limiter like that. Like, even though we were always poor, and just as a side note, we moved a ton. And I move a lot now, and it's expensive. I don't know how the hell she did that with 5 kids and no money and no husband. Anyway, but she was always, yeah, there's money out there. You just have to go find it. And so I think because of that, me and my siblings, all of us, no one's afraid to go find it.
Today's episode of WTF, Where's the Fun, is sponsored by The Fun Experience, a curated mastermind for established business owners, entrepreneurs, and CEOs ready for more. More magic, more joy, more wealth, and more fun than ever before. So if you're ready for a peer-to-peer mastermind that's helping you to embody more leadership, more impact, and make bold moves, The Fun Experience is where it's at.
Are you the only entrepreneur out of your siblings?
Yes, I'm the only, well, My sister is, but no longer, but she's still, so my sister had her own salon. Like she's a hairdresser, barber, kids cutter, whatever. And she had her own salon for years. And now she works for somebody and she struggles because as an entrepreneur, she's used to hustling. This is too funny. I was just on the phone with her 5 minutes before we jumped on. And she's working for a immigrant family locally where she lives, and they've just taken her in. Right? She's a single mom. Her kids are grown up. My mom is now gone from her, and she's by herself. And they've just taken her and loved her. And so I said to her, "Hey, what are you doing for Christmas?" I said, is your shop closed?" And she goes, dude, I work for an immigrant family. I work like an immigrant now. They work hard. We are working hard. We're taking Christmas off. That's it. I was like, "Oh, okay." So she is, but no, my brothers are they both have established trades career. One's a plumber, one's a welder. One has taught in like our technical institute for the last 20 years. He teaches welding. And then the other one's a master plumber, whatever they call him, journeyman master, runs a business.
A journeyman, I think.
Journeyman, that's it. Yeah. So, but they're all very, successful in the sense of like independent, managing their life, like
I would say being an entrepreneur, like, and I don't know from your perspective, but like, I feel like we're the only ones in our families that are. And sometimes it can be hard. They don't understand, like, we're working this weekend, or, we're taking a Monday off because we worked all weekend. Like, I don't know. There's like such a mind shift difference there. And I don't know if you found that. You work with your family. So,
well, my kid, like my husband's always worked for himself and his family. Like he's never had if somebody asked him the other day, what okay. My assistant came with us to the trade show and she brought her husband because her husband, they're young, they're in their early 30s. They're about to get married and her fiance, sorry. And he loves Darren. He's just like, he's enamored with Darren. So
I use there.
he's like, "Yes, I'll come. I would love to hang out with you guys." Right. And so we were having dinner with them and I hear Owen say to Darren, like, "So what other jobs have you had?" Stop. I'm like, he said he's never ever worked for anybody. And so, I came into that. Um, so as much as I have a higher risk tolerance. So he's taught me to have a lower risk tolerance and his belief in being able to make money no matter what. He has such a belief in that I started to borrow that. And I started to see it. And so while I worked for government for 15 years, I also worked for a bank for 8 years at the beginning. I then started to understand the risk reward with business. But here's the other thing, because I love to help people, period. And I was in social work for 15 years doing that. But, and Andy, you'll probably resonate with this. I burnt out. You burn out. That's just like one of those bottomless holes that, well, you can never fill the needs of other humans in any capacity. And I burnt out. And one of the things that I realized, and it's really one of the things that helped us move into this franchise model, is I still love to help people, but now the way I help people is to help people take control of their earning potential, of their legacy. So instead of helping them in these really kind of grassroots, basic ways that are really hard emotionally, watching the worst part of humanity, I'm able to help in a different way that doesn't take from me now because it did. And so that feels good. It feels creative and it feels like I'm helping other people find new. So I would say that Darren, was uh the role model of what entrepreneurship is. So in our family understands it because they've all lived it. All my kids have grown up with it. Um, but I find that people, like even my friends, don't realize that I'm actually like they think it's like your little tiny hobby. They're like, why, where are you? I'm like, well, I'm working every day, right? Like, or yeah, like
I told you, you could be retiring right now.
Sorry, Maria.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Yes. I mean, I've always said me retired. Because I only do what I love.
Yeah. And you and Darren are taking on a big adventure.
Yeah, it's a pretty big beast.
Yeah.
Share about it because I think it's awesome.
So we so I had a diagnosis of cancer about 7 years ago, and that kind of brings everything into perspective really quickly in terms of your what you think you were going to do in the future. And so some of that, we had 3 businesses at the time. I was working in a consulting role for not-for-profits, things like that. And so we had to kind of like, okay, woo, this is scary. This is a brush with some terminal illness or potentially terminal illness. How would we like the rest of our lives? How would we like this end of our lives to be? And so we started liquidating, selling off businesses, things like that, because we decided we want to be what we called recreationally retired. You know, riding bikes, drinking coffee, playing pickleball, going for a hike.
Usually.
And so it was in that space and time that as he started to decompensate from a 45-year career in family business, uh he started because he's a trades guy. He's a people pleaser. He loves providing service. He's a servant. Years ago, because we spent many years in the church as a family, that's a whole different. Years ago, people would ask, "Are you the servant or the servee?" And we always knew Darren's the servant. He's the servant. He's got the servant heart. Not me, man. I'm the servee. And so because of that, he kept doing some work. And what he did is he found this new niche inside of his industry in repairing doors that was so profitable. It was so easy. And it didn't require all the typical traditional pain points of business. It was him in a truck with an app. And before he knew it, within the inside of a year, you know, he had brought in some pretty decent dough. And we were sitting in the kitchen in our townhouse after semi-retiring and selling everything. And now we're sitting in a townhouse that we bought sight unseen that we both hated. And he goes, you know what? I could teach people how to do this. Like I could teach people how to make money in this industry and make good money and not kill themselves and have time for family and all that. Because that, of course, wasn't his experience when we were growing up. And because I'm an expander, I'm always thinking of ways of, right? How can we build and expand and how can we bring people into that? And I was like, oh my God, let's franchise it. And so we're now building a franchise system. So we're the franchisors, it's called. So we own the whole franchise system. And it's a mobile door repair. So it's in the service or in the trades. And as we like to say, we're making trades great again. Let's borrow a little slang from our partners. Yeah. But really it is a mobile business that we're scaling across because we wanted to scale it across Canada. We didn't want to just like have another corporate entity. And so, yeah, we're building a franchise in the door industry trades.
I think it's genius. It's called Door Gurus. And Darren's basically the front man character of the whole thing.
I mean, he would have never guessed in a million years that he would have been the face of a business. But yes, he's the front man. Although I did demote him.
Oh, yes, that's right.
I demoted him, but he's still the pretty face of the company.
I love, honestly, what I love about, and okay, so you have a podcast, I think your socials on Instagram are hilarious, aren't they? They're so good. And I love how it's, you bring in your team. Like it truly feels like this co-creation. Like, what about this idea? What if we try this? And so I was actually thinking about this before our call today, because I was like, what I love about it is you're not taking it so serious. It's like it could be fun. And you're still doing obviously like great work and you're successful, but it's like, let's also play and have fun when we're doing it.
Yes.
And, you know, that's a really good thing that you brought up, Andy, because so we brought on some team, like I started to build the marketing team. First it was Darren and I doing everything. And when you're building a business like this, like there's marketing, there's franchise development, which is recruiting, there's operations, and it's him and I, and then my daughter-in-law, who is our tech talent. Like she is like the production queen. And then when we first were, I was like, I'm not a marketer. I mean, I know enough just to be dangerous, right? Like if I was going to do like consulting, I could market myself, but this is a bigger beast. And anyway, so we started to I brought on a marketing director who is also a dear friend of ours, who also helped actually create the brand and the brand voice. Her and Darren did that originally. So even though she's not a marketer by trade, she's also built her own digital business. And I knew that she was the right person because she understands the mission, she understands the brand, and she would hold it with such preciousness, right? And she's in person, which is really important for us to have that. Great. So anyway, so as we started to build this team, then I had to hire an assistant. So I hired a PA to help with some things, but she is so freaking creative and funny that when we were at our shop doing just like short form content or doing our ads, like doing a video for our ads, she started to create the script for the door company, which is the spinoff. And I just kind of let them run with it. And so what ended up happening, I have nothing to do with it. Neither does Darren. They just pick the roles for us. And they do the script, they do the prop list, they do the production timeline. And then once a month when we get together to do in-person um uh filming for whatever is on the schedule, we always film a session of this. And it has hands down become one of the funnest team building, regardless of how it tracks on socials. It has become one of the funnest team building activities because our social media person hates being on camera, hates it. So what happened was, because this was a team initiated thing, but it requires everybody to be a part of it. So when she had a line, she was having a meltdown. Like she was like literally she goes, I am like gonna have my period tomorrow. No, I don't have my makeup on. Like I'm all, just all the things. Like she was just like fighting against, and she had one line. One line. Number one. Number two, she's my daughter. So yeah. And now, and she's like having this panic moment, but the team all came around her and really supported her to do this. It just seems small stuff, but these are the moments when you're building your team that create that cohesiveness. Not like, okay, now's our team building event, and now we're all gonna, pick three pencils, and the one with the shortest is gonna do this, and da 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 da. Da. And, it's not an instructor led. It came from within the group, and so the group is able to support and direct. And even me, I'm like, they did a whole pickleball one that's coming out next week. So yeah. And I was like, so my assistant says, okay, you need to bring workout wear to change into. I was like, I'm not changing. She's like, well, you have to. I said, well, I'm not. Like she gets pushback. I'm like, no, you can create a different role for me, but I'm not playing pickleball. She's like, pardon? They created a different role for me.
Okay, well, I can't wait to see that.
Yeah. So, but that's what I mean. So this concept, although there's money attached to doing these things, sorry, I got a little distracted, but although there's money attached to doing these things, when we focus too much on what is the cost is for the team to come together to spend 2 hours doing this, whatever it is, then, for my production gal to spend 2 hours editing it or whatever, let's say in total it's 4 hours. And maybe it's going to cost like in salaries or wages $400 or $500, whatever it is. People get too fixated on those small pieces and don't see the value. And so, and the fact that it was all initiated by the team, and it creates leadership opportunities for everybody, because even we push back. So they have to learn how to push back or respect the boundary. Right. So it creates all those dynamics. So I love it. I'm here for it.
I think it's so good too because it's like, and honestly, that's what it's about. I think it's the co-creation, and then like for us specifically, like even when it comes to our marketing, like we ended up co-creating with Web of Words and Carly, because we found we're like, we are not having as much fun as we knew we could have in
Yes.
our marketing. So I think like having a team that you're like, this is fun. And then what about this or this? And you get a different perspective. It like totally
There are things that they suggest, and I'm like, not fucking doing that. Like, no. And then I'll send them something that I actually want to do that's probably more risque than that they said that having clients.
Oh, yeah.
And they're just like, they love it. And I'm like, that's my comfort zone is that.
Yeah. And then they learn to start. What we found is like, then they start taking on like, oh, it can be fun. And yeah, and do it differently. You don't have to think of it. And even though we're not actually like mentoring them, they're kind of taking something from us, but we're also learning how to.
No, I think one of the hardest things is building a business alone. I know we talk a lot about community, but it's more than that. It's more than just having community because you have to build your team, even if you can hire one person to be your assistant, even if it's 10 days, 10 days a week, 10 hours a week or something like that. When you have that interaction with another person outside of your business that's coming in, it creates the energy, it creates some experience, and that also then motivates us and drives us a little bit forward in our business. And I think that as bootstrappers, as we are, as maybe you are, uh, we sometimes get too tied up in that dollar. And it can be hard. I'm not kidding. I mean, I had a conversation with Stacy the other day and she said, "Hey, cut your marketing budget by 20%." I'm like, "Oh, don't tell me that." Like, there's hard decisions that need to be made sometimes. I get that. But I think that having other people to have, especially inside your own business, and I wonder if you two, because it's just you two, right? Like you guys do all the stuff, right?
No.
We have
Give-
expanded tea.
Well, so Jackie, she's had been doing her behind the scenes since day one. So since 2017, we have had her deal with that stuff. Yeah. But other than that, it's pretty much us.
So then this year we did start hiring out more things, which is actually collapsed time for us.
Oh, 100%. So do you have any in-person team stuff?
No, we're
Yeah. So your assistant is virtual or like remote, and then you have agency help. Yeah. And so to me, that was the biggest change is having that. And I think that's why I'm hiring slower is because I want, not all the time, but I want some in-person like work.
yes. That makes it more fun for you.
Yeah, because it's part of our experience too, what we're building, right? And
You're very much a magnetic people person. Like
I get more done with an assistant.
yeah, we've hung out in person and like I swear we could have been there for we could have hung out for days and still had so much to talk about.
Yeah. Yeah, because and that's there's time for work. I get it, and with I just find that there is some magic there that we like to capture, and as we grow our business, there's pieces where we're like, okay, like we've just brought on I'm very excited about a new CFO that we're no, that's wrong. Sorry, a fractional COO that we're bringing on. He's his experience, his support in our brand, like all that. We're just really excited, but he's virtual, right? He's in Vancouver. But we're having a team event on January 4th. So I was like, I'm paying to fly him in so that he can be here in person and bond with the team and we can all at least kick off that way. And so we'll make that as part of the contract every month that he flies in for a 12-hour period or whatever to be. You just have to make that into the budget so that it can help create the magic that us as the co-founders or founders and the builders of the business sometimes lack because we're building so much. The magic gets lost.
Yeah. 1,000%. And that's where I think for sure at one point you delegate all the things and it's like, okay, am I even doing the thing that I want to be doing? So it's like reminding ourselves of that. But we're the same. In person has always been secret sauce, magical for us. And actually, we were just talking about this, and I think this would be helpful to just kind of highlight a little bit is because you have a big 2025.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And managing energy, space, like being super intentional about like all of really, I think it is an energy game.
Yeah.
So how are you navigating that going into 2025?
Oh my gosh, that is so we talked a little bit about that off air and trying to so there's some things that I must do. So I try to put those on the calendar first because they're just not negotiable. And this last year in doing those things, I can now see the space that's required for me after to really recover because some of them are really extrovert heavy, right? Trade shows, masterminds, things like that, which take a lot of bandwidth. And I think that's the energy. That's the energy sucker. What I've realized, and this is the beauty of getting older. I mean, there are some things that are great about getting older. And one of them is that you have the ability to look back and see the patterns of your own energy, behavior, like all those things. And so now it's just creating that space. But in order to do that, it sounds all woo woo. Oh, got to create space. But you really have to say, you have to book that stuff off and say no and not compromise it. And Kathy, you guys know Kathy, my friend, her and I have this conversation even about getting to the gym or doing the things that are super important to us first, right? You have grandkids. So it's not even about business, too. I have grandkids, I have 8 grandkids. I have daughters that I want, adult children that I want to nurture relationships with. My son is a little bit, he's got young kids, so he's here every week for dinner. So that relationship. But my daughters have older kids. So there's those things. But also, and so you got to create space for that and create space for me and create space for my husband. But it's so easy for us, like when the grandkid calls and says, "Oh, can you?" Or the daughter calls, "Can you pick the kid up?" And you're like, "No, I have to go to the gym."
Yeah.
So you're like, "Oh, I need to help them." And so getting really tight with your commitment to yourself can mean hurting some people. And I think that's the hard part for me. So for 2025, it's like, okay, we were talking a little bit, right? I'm trying to, I want to join your event. I've been trying to join your event for this will be the second year now, right? And the timing is crammed. So how do I create that space if I'm developing that calendar to really honor that I need this time and this time? But then knowing maybe what this event is, I can create some space to have downtime. Because when we went to the retreat this year, I was invited to that few base at the St. Anne's before the high vibe. Those things aren't my jam. I don't do those things. I'm like, I would rather poke my eye out. Well, and I'm not even an event person. I don't even go to any events. That high vibe event was the first one I've been to in years. I don't do the whole like powerhouse women thing, like all the Tony Robbins. Like I don't do that shit. I don't like I just don't. And I was so surprised at how refreshing it was for myself.
Build your cup up.
Yeah. And I said that. I was raised.
See, but fact that you had Kathy there really helped you too.
Yeah, her and I had
You two are just, you guys are the funniest fucking people. Like, I'm like, so geeked that you brought Kathy because we got to meet her and I was, sorry.
I think tells you you're her best friend. And
Well, I text her and I'm like, hey, bestie.
don't make me. Don't make me come after you.
Yeah.
You an East Bend girl. I know you're a hockey chick. You probably lace me in a second.
One thing I just want to touch on there, Kim, is one of the things that you had, like, you're older than us. You have a lot of wisdom that I don't even think you realize you drop on us.
Oh,
Yeah. And one of the things that you have said to us before on a different girl, and it really hit home and stuck with me. And we have really tried to put this into place this year is you said, really all it is about is managing other people's expectations. And I think that goes back to even what you just said about like, if you want to go to the gym for yourself, you need to manage your daughter's expectation of maybe that time of the day is for you. So she kept calling to ask about the kids. Like, and I know we have had to do that with our families. And my sister always wanted me to watch her kids. And I'm like, I don't have time, like, to watch your kids. Like, why do you think I don't have kids?
right. Yeah. But it's, yeah.
But it is like
About boundaries. It's about managing the expectations. Yeah.
that really hit home with me. And I was like, we need to practice this more. Like in business, managing expectation with team members or
Yeah.
each other.
And honestly, it probably was one of the highlights. Yeah. When we were doing our market research and you shared that. Yes, we were trying to we've done events, we've done workshops. We really wanted this to be something special. And it really didn't stick with us. Yeah. It makes us, we're already intentional, but how are we communicating what that intention is, but also looking at that? So yeah, this is all that it was so helpful.
Well, but it's also really a best practice for business.
Yes.
Managing your, and when I say managing customer expectations or your client expectations, I don't mean by providing shitty service. That's not what I mean. I mean by being so communicative that something is a surprise,
Yes.
right? That you don't find yourself, and that's where that comes, that's where most of the errors or the misalignment comes in. It's really from misunderstanding and not managing expectations. And so thank you for saying that, because I use that a lot. I do that a lot with, even within my relationships, so that I'm clear, people are clear where I'm at. I have a new team member, it's been a few months, I'm checking in with her all the time, because if I'm not and I haven't onboarded her properly, I know that. So I don't know where her expectations are. I don't know if, right, we're right. So it's really important that I have good feedback or good communication with her, so that I know what's going on. And so does she, right? I had somebody once say, "Okay, one of the businesses that we had was a retail store, and I had a part-time person there and doing payroll. It was months. This is what I mean about managing expectations. She'd been there for like 6 months or 8 months or something like that. And then, but part-time, very part-time. And then we had a little issue with something. I forget what it was. But then what happened is all of a sudden I get this huge email about how I owe her a whole bunch of money. Not how I owe her, how I have not paid her for and what she was entitled to get. And it became this friction point. And I was like, I, I mean, I was at the store. I saw her all the time. And so when I brought it up to her, I said, okay, can you explain this to me? Like, I don't understand what you're talking about. And she goes, well, by the law, I'm entitled to ABC, XYZ, whatever it was. And you've never, oh no, that's what it was. Her shift ended at 7. She closed at 7, but I paid everybody to 7:15. That's what it was. Sorry. And when she was onboarded, nobody told her to put 7:15 on her timesheet. So then she found out that that's what other people were doing. In fact, instead of coming and asking, she just left it, and then months later was very angry and thought I was ripping her off, whereas I had no clue, right? She was getting angry, and that's what happens when you have mismanaged expectations. I'm like, dude, you could have just told me right when you found out. You could have just said, hey, like blah blah blah. And I realize you're young. And then what could I have done to make sure that those expectations were managed properly? So that it ends up informing your policies,
Yeah.
Yeah.
right?
We actually had a word, like it was kind of similar, but it was more so for something that we were offering. And there was like a miscommunication, and we absolutely loved like we've been on their podcast, and they're just great business owners. And I'm like, there's something here that doesn't, that it didn't feel right. So then we reflected on it, and then it was super uncomfortable. But I'm like, I'm just going to email them and be honest and be like, we didn't mean to like make you feel a certain way. And honestly, then just spoke from our heart, and they communicated that their feelings, and there was like just this miscommunication, but it was really cool because basically they said like, if anything, we respect you more, we want to be even more part of what you're doing, because we're willing to have like what would just a real conversation.
Yeah, yeah. So and that's where that always comes back to. But still, it's a good practice.
Yeah.
So Kim, where can people find you, learn more about what you're doing?
Well, I pretty much hang out on Instagram. Like my own personal is at Kimberly Hiebert, Kimberly.Hiebert, I don't know, something like that on Instagram. And then Door Gurus, if you just when we were talking, when I would just circle back quickly to your comment about our socials at Door Gurus being fun. One of the things that I've learned a lot about is you have to. So our business is boring. Doors are boring. They are,
Yeah, it's fun.
right? But you have to stand out. You have to bring and and I say this to franchise partners. I'm like, don't worry, you don't have to be dancing on the screen or like Darren is or things like that. But you do have to bring an element and a personality to your brand so that you can stand out a little bit. And so we at Door Gurus, it's just fun. It's just funny. If you want to go there and hang out there, we have the company episodes that come out once every couple weeks, I think. And those are just fun. Stacey Millard is all over those. She messages me all the time. She's just dying because they're funny. Um, but yeah, so we hang out over there and have some fun over there. And that's kind of what I would leave people with whatever they're doing in their business is really step out of the way to let the creative marketing people do their work and just give them the opportunity to create that magic. Because nowadays it's hard to get people's attention online. There's a lot of scrolling. We all have a lot of screen um fatigue, and it takes a lot to get people's attention.
Yeah. And I think the thing that the magic that you're doing too is you're right, doors are boring. But you're making people feel like joy and connected to what you're doing, which then it's
Feeling, yeah.
part of a journey. Yeah. And I think that's honestly how we came up with the FunX was, but really at the depths of it, what we do is we help people like connect more with their heart and their belief and the subconscious and their or shitty. In theory, that's not all that much fun. But if you can infuse joy,
Yeah,
that journey, it's like and have fun. Like I think that's what the magic is. So I agree 1,000%. I have one more question for you because I think you're nailing it with like let the marketing people or let the magic happen, let the fun come out. Is there any there's one more thing that you could say to bring even more fun into what your life design, your business, any of the things, what would it be?
What would it be? Okay, so for me, and I really searched for soul friendship that could have bouts of stupid laughter. And I think the older we get, the less we do that. Like just the I don't this sounds so unintelligent, but when you get it on a soul level, you get it. It does. It's like you need to laugh like over stupid stuff.
yes.
Like, there's having fun, which we like to do, but there's that joy laugh, and it's funny because with Kathy, we've only known each other a few years, but she literally
Blue.
but I will say to her, we need some time together because I need to laugh like a little kid." And even Darren, because we've been married 31 years, just had our anniversary yesterday. Uh, he has he has seen me in different friendships, and I've had fun and laughed with other friends. That's not what I'm saying. But I longed for that childlike friendship that can go deep too. We have our deep moments, but we have so much silly fun that it just lightens everything up to the point now in the mornings when we have our FaceTime call. Darren loves it. He's like, I love our morning chats. He calls them, even though he's not, he's on the couch behind the camera, nattering, because, and so I would say find the opportunity to have childlike laughter and childlike fun and be silly and laugh over stupid things. Um, because I think as adults, it's too easy for us to become serious and dry. Like I've been married for 31 years. It's, for him and I to have, for Darren and I to have like gut wrenching hysterical laughter together takes a lot now because we've been together for so long. It's not that we have a lot of fun together, right? But and so it's a little bit different. So that's what I would say. Find that person or
And you need to borrow from that watch because him and Kathy have a
yes, we'll have you guys on. We should have you two up. Well,
still is obsessed with it. And this. She
You chose the Kim and Cass show?
You guys make me laugh so hard.
honestly, if she's not paying attention to what I'm doing, either she's watching your Instagram or she's listening to you as Kathy.
You guys are so funny. Like, Kathy, like, you'll say one word and she'll, like, start singing a song with that word. I'm like, and I love how you guys are like, we're putting zero production into this. Like,
That's no evidence.
what you see is what you get.
You're like, oh, fine. So yeah, if you need a little joy, watch
Yeah.
that. What's the podcast called?
It's called the Kim and Cass show. I think it's your friendship hour.
It's so good. We'll include that in the show.
Thanks, you guys. Oh my God, this has been.
Okay, we're so grateful for you, Kim, and I feel like this is just the beginning.
Thanks for listening to WTF. Where's the fun?
We're Andrea and Mel, and we're so excited to be on this journey with you to see how fun it can get.
If today's episode brought a little bit more fun into your world, be sure to subscribe, share with a friend, and leave us a review.
And remember, life and business is so much better when you're following the fun. So let's have some fun.